The space around the Nexus Gate looked like a graveyard of stars. Thousands of ships floated in the dark void, their hulls glowing red from the heat of constant battle. 3 massive fleets faced each other in a triangle formation, each one waiting for the perfect moment to strike the killing blow. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory. His blue skin showed the stress lines that came from months of endless fighting. As commander of the Zephyrian Empire's 3rd Fleet, he had seen many battles, but nothing like this. The war for the Nexus Gate had been going on for over 4 months now, and nobody was winning. "Sir, the Korthak are moving their bioships into attack formation," reported his tactical officer. The young Zephyrian's voice shook slightly. Even trained soldiers were starting to crack under the pressure. Vexatar looked at the main screen. The Korthak Collective's ships looked more like giant sea creatures than spacecraft. Their hulls were made of living tissue that could heal itself and adapt to different weapons. When you shot at them, they learned how to resist your guns. It made them very hard to kill. "What about the Valdres?" Vextar asked. "Still holding position, but their battle groups are spreading out. They might be preparing for another charge." The Valdres Republic was different from both the Zephyrians and the Korthak. Where the Zephyrians used energy weapons and advanced technology and the Korthak used living ships and biological weapons, the Valdres believed in raw power. Their ships were covered in armor thicker than building walls. Their weapons fired solid metal slugs the size of small houses at speeds that could crack planets. Vextar had been fighting this war since it started. The Nexus Gate was the most important piece of space in this part of the galaxy. It was a natural formation that let ships travel instantly between 7 different star systems. Whoever controlled it controlled trade, military movement, and the fate of billions of people. The Zephyrian Empire needed the gate to connect their outer colonies. Without it, their empire would split apart. The Korthak Collective wanted it to spread their hive mind to new worlds. The Valdres Republic saw it as the key to expanding their warrior culture across the stars. None of them could afford to lose. None of them could win. "Sir, incoming transmission from Admiral Thexis," the communications officer announced. Admiral Thexis commanded the 2nd Fleet. He was older than Vextar and had fought in more wars than most people could count. His face appeared on the screen, looking tired and angry. "Vextar, we need to end this today," Thexis said without greeting. "My ships are down to 60% strength. The Korthak are adapting faster than we can modify our weapons. And the, Valdres just brought in fresh reinforcements." Vextar nodded. He had seen the new Valdres ships arrive 2 days ago. Massive dreadnoughts that could punch holes through moon-sized asteroids. "What do you suggest?" "Combined assault. Hit them, with everything at once. If we coordinate our attack patterns, we might be able to overwhelm both fleets before they can respond." It was a desperate plan, a final gamble that would either win the war or destroy what was left of the Zephyrian fleet. But Vextar could see no other choice. His own fleet had started with 300 ships. Now he had less than 200, still capable of fighting. "Agreed," Vextar said. "Begin coordination protocols." Across the void, similar conversations were happening on the other fleets. Admiral Hive Mind Cluster 7 of the Korthak was communicating through biological neural links with its sub-commanders. The Korthak did not speak like other species. Instead, they shared thoughts and emotions directly. Right now, those thoughts were filled with hunger and desperation. The collective had lost many ships, but their real problem was different. Each Korthak ship was part of a larger organism. When ships died, the collective felt their pain. The hive mind was becoming unstable from all the death. They needed to win soon, or the psychological damage might tear their unity apart. General Korath of the Valdres Republic faced his own problems. The Valdres valued honor above all else. Running from a fight was worse than death. But even they were starting to question whether this battle could be won. His warriors were brave, but Bravery alone could not overcome the advanced shields of the Zephyrians or the adaptive biology of the Korthak. "General, the other fleets are moving," reported his sensor operator. "Energy signatures suggest they are preparing for a major assault." Korath's hand moved to the hilt of his ceremonial sword. Even in space battles, Valdris officers carried blades as symbols of their warrior heritage. "Then we will give them the fight they want. All ships, prepare for final engagement. Today we either claim victory or die with honor." The three fleets began moving toward each other like massive predators circling for the kill. Zephyrian ships charged their energy weapons until their hulls glowed like small suns. Korthak bioships extended tentacles and weapon pods that pulsed with toxic life. Valdris vessels locked their targeting systems and prepared to fire railguns that could punch through planetary cores. The space between the fleets filled with energy as sensors swept back and forth. Everyone knew this would be the last battle. After months of fighting, someone would finally win, or everyone would die trying. Admiral Vextar watched the tactical display as his ships moved into attack formation. Red dots for enemies, blue dots for allies, and yellow warnings showing areas of heavy radiation from previous battles. The Nexus Gate itself hung in the center of it all, a swirling tunnel of energy that led to other stars. "All ships report. Ready for combat," his tactical officer announced. "Korthak bioships are releasing attack spores," came another report. "Valdris dreadnoughts have locked onto our position," added a third voice. Vexitar took a deep breath. In a few minutes, this would all be over. Either the Zephyrian Empire would control the most important piece of space in the sector, or there would be no empire left to control anything. "Begin final assault," he ordered. The three fleets rushed toward each other like colliding storms. Energy weapons began charging, bioweapons started growing, kinetic cannons prepared to fire. In the dark void around the Nexus Gate, the biggest space battle in recent history was about to reach its bloody conclusion. None of them knew that someone else was watching, someone who would change everything in ways they could never imagine. The warning came from the edge of the battle zone where nobody was looking. Deep space sensors, designed to watch for enemy reinforcements, suddenly detected something impossible. A single ship had appeared out of hyperspace where nothing should have been able to survive the intense radiation from the ongoing battle. Lieutenant Zaxxon stared at his sensor screen in confusion. He was a young Zephyrian officer assigned to watch the outer perimeter while the main fleets prepared for their final assault. His job was usually boring. Today, it became the most important position in the entire war. "Sir," he called to his commanding officer, "I have an unknown contact at grid reference 77 Delta." Commander Tylex walked over to look at the readings. His experienced eyes scanned the data twice before he believed what he was seeing. "That cannot be correct. Run a full diagnostic on your sensors." Zaxxon's fingers moved quickly over his controls. He checked every system, ran every test he could think of. The readings stayed the same. "Sir, diagnostics show all systems operating normally. There is definitely a ship out there." Tylex frowned. During a major battle like this, all ships were accounted for. The three fleets had been watching each other for months. Everyone knew exactly where everyone else was positioned. A new ship appearing meant either reinforcements or a completely unknown player. "What type of vessel?" Tylex asked. "Unknown, sir. The computer cannot match it to any ship in our database. Size appears to be frigate class, approximately 400 meters long. But, sir, the readings are very strange." "Strange how?" Zaxxon looked uncomfortable. "The hull material is not reflecting our sensor beams properly. It seems to be absorbing them instead. And I cannot detect any energy signature that matches known propulsion systems." Across the battlefield, similar conversations were happening. On the other fleets, the Korthak Collective's biosensors had also detected the strange newcomer. But where Zephyrian technology relied on energy and electronics, Korthak systems used living organisms to sense their environment. HiveMind Cluster 7 received the report through a direct neural link from one of its sensor drones. The information came as images and feelings rather than words. The drone showed confusion and fear. It had never encountered anything like this ship before. The Valdris Republic detected the vessel third, but their reaction was the most direct. General Korath received the report and immediately assumed it was an enemy trick. Cloaking device failure, he announced to his bridge crew. One of our enemies has revealed themselves too early. All weapons target the unknown vessel. But his weapons officer hesitated. Sir, the ship does not match any known Zephyrian or Korthak design. It appears to be something else. Korath looked at the tactical display. The ship was small compared to the massive dreadnoughts in his fleet. It appeared to be moving slowly toward the center of the battle formation. More importantly, it seemed to be ignoring the radiation and energy fields that would have fried most smaller vessels. Origin unknown? Korath asked. Yes, sir. Database shows no matches. On the Zephyrian flagship Eternal Glory, Admiral Vextar was receiving his own reports about the mysterious newcomer. His tactical officer had tried every scan he could think of, but the results made no sense. Sir, the vessel appears to be constructed of unknown materials. Its power source does not match any known technology. And, sir, the officer paused. Continue. It is transmitting on all frequencies. Vextar felt a chill run down his spine. During a battle, communication between enemy fleets was rare and usually meant surrender or desperate negotiations. Put it through. The main screen flickered and filled with static. Then a voice came through, speaking in heavily accented Galactic Standard. The pronunciation was strange, like someone who had learned the language from books rather than conversation. Unknown vessels. You are ordered to cease hostilities immediately. Withdraw to minimum safe distance or face consequences. The bridge of the Eternal Glory fell silent. Every officer stared at the screen in amazement. Someone was ordering them to stop fighting. A single small ship was commanding 3 of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy to withdraw. Admiral Vextar almost laughed. Then he almost got angry. Finally, he just felt confused. Communications. Open a channel to the unknown vessel. Channel open, sir. Unknown ship. This is Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire 3rd Fleet. You are interfering in a military operation. Identify yourself immediately and withdraw from this combat zone. The response came quickly. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran vessel Prometheus. You have been warned to cease hostilities. This is your only warning. Terran? Vextar looked at his intelligence officer. What do we know about Terrans? The intelligence officer checked his database. Sir, Terrans are also known as humans. They are from a planet called Earth in an outer system. Our records show they achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 100 years ago, but they have remained isolated in their home system. They are considered a minor species with primitive technology. Vextar looked back at the screen. The unknown ship, the human ship, was still moving toward the center of the battle formation. It showed no signs of fear or hesitation, despite being vastly outnumbered. Captain Chen, Vextar said, using the human's strange name. You are one small ship facing 3 major fleets. We appreciate your concern, but this matter does not involve your species. Please withdraw immediately. The human's response surprised him. Admiral, this matter involves every species in the galaxy. Wars like this spread. They consume resources, destroy lives, and destabilize entire sectors. We have been watching, and we have decided that enough is enough. On the Korthak command ship, HiveMind Cluster 7 was trying to understand what was happening. The collective shared thoughts and emotions instantly, but humans were individuals. The HiveMind found it difficult to comprehend how a single person could speak for an entire species. The collective tried to contact the human ship directly. Instead of words, They sent images and feelings, a mixture of curiosity, warning, and threat. The response they received shocked them. The humans somehow answered in the same way, sending back images of their own. But these images showed things the collective had never seen before. General Korath of the Valdris Republic was losing patience. His warriors were ready for battle, and this interruption was insulting. All ships, the unknown vessel is clearly some kind of trick by our enemies. Destroy it immediately. But before his weapons could fire, something unexpected happened. The human ship began broadcasting on frequencies that reached all three fleets simultaneously. "This is your final warning," Captain Chen's voice said calmly. "Withdraw now, or we will be forced to take action. You have 30 seconds to begin. Retreat procedures." Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display. The human ship was alone. One vessel against thousands. Yet something about the captain's voice made him hesitate. There was no fear, no uncertainty, just calm confidence, as if she knew something the rest of them did not. "Captain Chen," Vextar said slowly, "what exactly do you think one ship can do against 3 full battle fleets?" The human's answer chilled him to the bone. "Admiral," Captain Chen replied, "you are about to find out exactly what humans can do when we decide a war needs to end." The 30 seconds felt like 30 hours. On the bridge of the Eternal Glory, Admiral Vextar watched his tactical display as the human ship continued moving toward the center of the battle formation. The vessel moved with perfect steadiness, ignoring the massive weapons pointed at it from 3 different directions. "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "should we target the intruder?" Vextar hesitated. Something about this situation felt wrong. The human captain had spoken with complete confidence, as if she knew something that 3 galactic powers did not. But logic said that one small ship could not threaten thousands of warships. "Sir?" the weapons officer asked again. Before Vextar could answer, General Korath made the decision for everyone. The Valdris Republic had no patience for delays or diplomacy. Their massive dreadnought Honor's Edge turned its primary weapons toward the human vessel. "All ships, fire at will," Korath commanded. "Destroy the intruder." The first shot came from a Valdris railgun. A metal slug, the size of a ground vehicle, launched at nearly the speed of light. It should have turned the human ship into expanding gas and debris. Instead, something impossible happened. The slug simply stopped. Not bounced off, not deflected, just stopped in space, as if it had hit an invisible wall. The kinetic energy. That should have destroyed a city block disappeared without any visible effect. "What in the void was that?" Korath demanded. His weapons officer stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, the projectile encountered some kind of barrier. Our sensors show no energy field, no physical obstruction. The round just ceased to exist." Admiral Thexis of the Zephyrian Second Fleet saw the Valdris attack fail and decided to try a different approach. "All ships, target the unknown vessel with antimatter torpedoes, full spread." Dozens of antimatter warheads streaked toward the human ship. Each one carried enough destructive power to crack a small moon. They moved faster than the Valdris railgun slugs and used different physics entirely. Surely nothing could stop them all. The torpedoes reached the human ship and detonated in brilliant flashes of pure energy. For a moment, the entire battlefield was lit up like a small sun. When the light faded, everyone expected to see empty space where the intruder had been. Instead, the human ship was exactly where it had been before. Not damaged, not even scratched. The antimatter explosions had simply washed over it like water over a stone. "Impossible," Admiral Thexis whispered. Hive Mind Cluster 7 of the Korthak Collective felt waves of confusion and fear from its sub-commanders. The collective decided to try their own approach. Bioweapons were different from energy weapons or kinetic projectiles. They were alive, able to adapt and find weaknesses that technology might miss. The Korthak ships released clouds of attack spores, microscopic, organisms designed to eat through any known hull material. They could adapt to different defenses in real time, learning how to overcome obstacles as they encountered them. Nothing biological could resist them. The spores reached the human ship and simply died, not destroyed by weapons or energy fields. They just stopped living. Billions of microscopic warriors fell silent in an instant, as if something had simply turned off the spark of life inside them. The three fleet commanders stared at their displays in growing horror. Each had used their most powerful weapons, their most advanced technology. None of it had even slowed the human vessel down. Then Captain Chen's voice came over the communication system again. She sounded completely calm, as if being shot at by three galactic powers was a normal part of her day. "I gave you 30 seconds to withdraw," she said. "That time is up. Since you have chosen to open fire, I will now demonstrate why humanity is no longer confined to our home system." Admiral Vexitar felt his blood turn cold. "Captain Chen, please reconsider. We are willing to negotiate." "The time for negotiation ended when you fired the first shot," the human replied. "You have forced this situation. Now you will learn why that was a mistake." The human ship began to change. Its hull, which had been absorbing sensor beams, suddenly became completely invisible to every detection system in all three fleets. The vessel disappeared from visual, radar, thermal, and gravitational sensors simultaneously. "Where did it go?" demanded General Korath. "Unknown, sir," his sensor operator replied with a shaking voice. "All tracking lost." Then something happened that would be remembered in galactic history books for centuries to come. The Zephyrian dreadnought's storm of victory suddenly began to compress. Not crushed by external force, the ship itself was folding inward as if space around it was contracting. The massive vessel, over 2 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to level continents, crumpled like paper in the hands of a giant. Its hull plates folded into impossible angles. Its energy shields flickered and died. In less than 10 seconds, one of the most powerful warships in the Zephyrian fleet had been reduced to a ball of twisted metal barely 50 meters across. "Report!" Admiral Vexitar shouted. "What happened to the storm of victory?" "Unknown, sir," his tactical officer replied in a voice filled with terror. "Sensors show localized gravitational distortion, but the source is... the readings make no sense." Before anyone could respond, a Korthak biocruiser began experiencing the same effect. The living ship screamed across bioneural links as its organic hull twisted and compressed. The collective felt every moment of agony as one of their largest vessels was crushed into a dense sphere of what had once been living tissue. "Gravitational weapon," Admiral Thexus realized. "They are manipulating space-time itself." A Valdris battleship was next. The proud vessel, with armor thick enough to withstand planetary bombardment, simply folded in on itself like origami. Its crew had no time to scream, no time to even understand what was happening. Captain Chen's voice filled the communication channels of all three fleets. "I am targeting your flagships now. You have 10 seconds to order full retreat, or every command vessel in this battle zone will be destroyed." General Korath gripped his ceremonial sword until his knuckles turned white. The Valdris did not retreat. They did not surrender. But they also had never faced an enemy who could crush dreadnoughts like empty cans. "All ships," he said through gritted teeth, "emergency withdrawal. Fall back to minimum safe distance." Admiral Thexus was already giving similar orders. His fleet began turning away from the battle zone as fast as their engines could manage. The Zephyrian Empire's most advanced warships fled like frightened children. Hive Mind Cluster 7 felt the overwhelming terror of its sub-commanders and made the only logical choice. The collective's bioships began retreating, their living hulls pulsing with fear. In less than 2 minutes, 3 of the galaxy's most powerful fleets were running away from a single small vessel that they could not even see. The human ship became visible again, appearing exactly where it had been before. Captain Chen opened communication channels to all three retreating fleets. "This engagement is over," she announced. "Any ship that stops retreating or attempts to resume hostilities will be destroyed immediately. You have 5 minutes to clear the combat zone." The three fleets that had been locked in deadly combat for months were now united in one goal: getting as far away from the human ship as possible. Centuries of military tradition, honor codes, and tactical doctrine meant nothing in the face of technology that could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. As the last ships disappeared into hyperspace, Captain Chen transmitted one final message. This time, it was broadcast on emergency frequencies that would reach every inhabited system in the sector. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran vessel Prometheus. The battle for the Nexus Gate is over. This system is now under human protection. Any faction that resumes hostilities in this sector will face the full response of the Terran Defense Force." The communication ended, leaving the Nexus Gate under the protection of a species that most of the galaxy had never heard of. In one afternoon, humanity had announced itself to the galactic community in the most dramatic way possible. They had ended a war that three major powers could not resolve, and they had done it without killing a single person, just 3 ships that had refused to listen to reason. The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place 3 days after the incident at the Nexus Gate. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime, their voices creating a buzz of conversation. That sounded like a disturbed hive. Ambassador Keltos of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the central podium, his blue skin pale with exhaustion. He had not slept since receiving Admiral Vextar's report. Behind him, massive screens showed recordings from the battle that had shocked the entire galaxy. "Fellow representatives," Keltos began, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall, "we face a situation unlike anything in galactic history. A previously unknown species has demonstrated technology that makes our most advanced weapons appear primitive." The assembly hall erupted in nervous chatter. Everyone had heard the reports, but seeing the actual footage was different. The screens showed the human ship appearing from nowhere, withstanding attacks that should have destroyed it, and then crushing massive warships with invisible forces. Representative Thyron of the Alterian Federation raised her arm to speak. "Ambassador Keltos, our intelligence services have only limited information about these humans. Can you tell us what your military has learned?" Keltos activated his datapad and read from Admiral Vexitar's official report. "The humans, also known as Terrans, originate from a planet called Earth in the Outer Rim territories. Our records show they achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 100 years ago. Until now, they have remained isolated in their home system." "100 years?" interrupted Senator Vaxis of the Triangulum Republic. "That makes them newcomers to space travel. How could they have developed such advanced technology so quickly?" "That is what we are trying to understand," Keltos replied. "Our scientists are reviewing all available data, but their technology appears to operate on principles we do not recognize." Elder Morpheus of the Drakmari hierarchy spoke in his ancient, gravelly voice. "In my 700 years of life, I have seen many technological advances. Energy weapons, biomanipulation, quantum engineering. But what these humans demonstrated was not advanced technology. It was manipulation of fundamental forces that govern reality itself." The hall fell silent. Elder Morpheus was one of the oldest and wisest beings in the galaxy. If he was concerned, everyone should be worried. Ambassador Nexus of the Void Runners suddenly stood up. The Void Runners were traders and explorers who traveled to the farthest reaches of known space. If anyone had information about humans, it would be them. "I request permission to share information that may be relevant," Nexus announced. "Permission granted," replied the council speaker. Nexus activated a holographic display that showed star charts and trade routes. My people have attempted to establish contact with the human home system on several occasions over the past 50 years. Each time our ships were met at the edge of their system by vessels we assumed were patrol craft. What kind of vessels? Asked Ambassador Keltos. Small ships, similar in size to the one that appeared at the Nexus Gate. They were polite but firm. They thanked us for our interest in trade, but explained that humanity was not ready for galactic commerce. They escorted our ships to the edge of their system and asked us not to return. Did these patrol ships demonstrate any unusual capabilities? Elder Morpheus inquired. Nexus hesitated. We thought they were just being cautious. But looking back, our most advanced sensors could barely detect them. They moved without any visible propulsion system. And when our ship's engines experienced technical problems near their system boundary, the human ships somehow repaired them instantly without ever coming aboard. A chill ran through the assembly hall. The humans had been watching the galaxy for decades, demonstrating advanced technology, while pretending to be simple patrol craft. Representative Korvek of the Hegemony spoke up. If the humans have been observing us, what do they want? Why reveal themselves now? Before anyone could answer, the main communication system activated. The voice that came through the speakers was now familiar to everyone in the galaxy, Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran vessel Prometheus. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, Captain Chen began, I understand you are discussing recent events at the Nexus Gate. With your permission, I would like to address your assembly. The council speaker looked around the hall, nervously. Captain Chen, this is a closed session of the Galactic Council. Your species is not yet a member of our organization. I understand, Captain Chen replied calmly. However, I believe our conversation will benefit everyone involved. I am currently in orbit around Nexus Prime. I can be in your assembly hall in 20 minutes if you wish to meet face-to-face. The assembly hall erupted in shocked voices. The human ship was here, at the capital world of galactic civilization, and nobody had detected it arriving. Elder Morpheus raised his arm for silence. Captain Chen, how long have you been in our system? I arrived shortly after your emergency session began, she replied. I wanted to give you time to discuss the situation before offering humanity's perspective. Ambassador Keltos felt his legs grow weak. The human had been listening to their entire conversation. Captain, our planetary defense systems detected no incoming ships. Your defense systems are impressive, Captain Chen said politely, but they are designed to detect conventional spacecraft. Our technology operates differently. The council speaker made a decision that would change galactic history. Captain Chen, the Galactic Council formally invites you to address our assembly. We will prepare a reception area immediately. Thank you. I will arrive in 15 minutes. The communication ended, leaving the assembly hall in chaos. Security officers scrambled to prepare for the arrival of someone who could apparently bypass every defense system in the galaxy. Diplomats checked their translation devices and reviewed first contact protocols that had not been used in centuries. Exactly 15 minutes later, the main doors of the assembly hall opened. Captain Sarah Chen walked in, and every representative got their first look at a human being. She was smaller than most species in the hall, standing only about 1.7 meters tall. Her skin was darker than Zephyrian blue, but lighter than Drakmari gray. Her hair was black and pulled back in a simple style. She wore a uniform that looked functional rather than decorative. What surprised everyone was how normal she appeared. After witnessing the devastating power of human technology, they had expected something more impressive. Instead, Captain Chen looked like she could be anyone's neighbor. Honorable representatives, Captain Chen said as she approached the central podium, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. I understand you have questions about humanity and our recent actions. Elder Morpheus leaned forward in his seat. Captain Chen, your species has demonstrated technology that appears to violate known physical laws. How is this possible? Captain Chen smiled, and somehow that expression was more unsettling than any weapon. Elder Morpheus, we have not violated any physical laws. We have simply learned to work with forces that others have not yet discovered. Your species are accomplished engineers and scientists. Given time, you could develop similar capabilities. How much time? Asked Representative Theron. For most species? Perhaps 1,000 years, maybe 2,000. It depends on how quickly. You move beyond thinking of technology as tools and start thinking of it as partnerships with the universe itself. Ambassador Keltos felt a chill run down his spine. Partnerships with the universe? The universe wants to be understood, Captain Chen explained simply. When you fight against natural forces, progress is slow and difficult. When you work with them, when you ask rather than demand, amazing things become possible. Senator Vaxis stood up abruptly. Captain Chen, your ship destroyed 3 of our most powerful warships with apparent ease. Are you threatening the galaxy? For the first time, Captain Chen's expression became serious. Senator, I did not destroy those ships to threaten anyone. I destroyed them to save lives. If that battle had continued, hundreds of thousands of beings would have died. 3 ships were sacrificed to prevent a much greater tragedy. But you could destroy entire fleets if you wanted to, pressed Senator Vaxis. Captain Chen looked directly at him, and her eyes held depths that seemed much older than her apparent age. Senator, humanity could do many things. We could conquer worlds, enslave species, or impose our will on the galaxy. We choose not to do these things because we have learned that true strength comes from helping others become stronger. Then what do you want? Elder Morpheus asked quietly. Captain Chen's smile returned, warm and genuine. We want peace, Elder. We want species to resolve their differences through dialogue rather than warfare. We want the galaxy to become a place where children of all species can grow up safely, and we want to share what we have learned with those who are ready to listen. The assembly hall was completely silent. Every representative was trying to understand what they had just heard. The most powerful military force in the galaxy wanted nothing more than peace. How do we know we can trust you? Ambassador Keltos asked. Captain Chen's answer would be quoted in history books for millennia to come. Ambassador, trust is not something that can be demanded or proven. 1 year after the incident at the Nexus Gate, the galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The battle that had lasted for months was now remembered as the Heartbeat War, because that was how long it took 1 human ship to end what 3 galactic powers could not resolve. Ambassador Keltos stood in his office on Nexus Prime, looking out at the space traffic around the gate. Ships from dozens of species moved peacefully through the hyperspace junction that had once been the site of the greatest battle in recent memory. Zephyrian cargo vessels shared shipping lanes with Korthak biotransports and Valdris merchant cruisers. The 3 species that had fought so desperately for control of the gate now managed it together under human supervision. It was not the outcome anyone had expected, but it worked better than anyone had hoped. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Keltos activated his communication system and saw the familiar face of Captain Sarah Chen. Over the past year, they had spoken many times as humanity slowly integrated into galactic civilization. Ambassador Keltos, Captain Chen said with her usual warm smile, I hope I am not interrupting anything important. Not at all, Captain. What can I do for you? I wanted to give you advance notice that we are expanding our protection zone. 3 more systems have requested human peacekeeping assistance after territorial disputes became violent. Keltos nodded. This was how humanity operated. They did not conquer or demand tribute. Instead, they responded to requests for help from species who could not resolve their conflicts peacefully. The results spoke for themselves. Which systems? Keltos asked. the Alterian-Draxan border dispute in the Kepler sector, the resource conflict between the Mining Guild and the Farmers Collective in the Vega system, and the religious war in the Proxima cluster. Keltos checked his files. All three conflicts had been going on for years with no resolution in sight. Traditional diplomacy had failed, and military intervention by galactic powers had only made things worse. "How do you plan to approach these situations?" he asked. Captain Chen's expression became thoughtful. "The same way we always do. We will listen to all sides, understand what each group really needs, and help them find solutions that work for everyone. Violence ends when people feel heard and respected. And if they refuse to cooperate, then we make it clear that violence is no longer an option. Most beings are reasonable when they know that fighting will not achieve their goals." Keltos had seen this approach work dozens of times over the past year. Human ships would arrive at conflict zones and simply make it impossible for anyone to continue fighting. Their technology could disable weapons without destroying ships, stop armies without killing soldiers, and neutralize threats without creating new enemies. But more importantly, humans seemed to understand what each species actually wanted beneath their stated demands. They found solutions that addressed root causes rather than just symptoms. "Captain, I have a question that many council members have been discussing," Keltos said carefully. "Please ask. How long will humanity continue this role? Peacekeeping across the galaxy must be exhausting for your people." Captain Chen's smile became sad. "Ambassador, we hope that someday our peacekeeping role will no longer be necessary. Our goal is to help other species develop their own methods for resolving conflicts peacefully. We want to work ourselves out of a job." "You really do not want to rule the galaxy?" "Rule it?" Captain Chen laughed. "Ambassador, ruling the galaxy would be a terrible job. Too much paperwork, too many meetings, and far too much responsibility. We prefer to help others solve their own problems." Before Keltos could respond, his communication system chimed again. This time, it was a priority message from the Drakmari hierarchy. Elder Morpheus appeared on screen, his ancient face showing excitement that Keltos had never seen before. "Ambassador Keltos," Elder Morpheus said, "is Captain Chen available? I have news that she will want to hear immediately." "I am here, Elder," Captain Chen replied. "What has happened?" "Captain, our scientists have achieved a breakthrough in gravitational manipulation based on principles your people shared with us. We have successfully created a small gravity field in our laboratory." Captain Chen's face lit up with genuine joy. "Elder, that is wonderful news. How do you feel about the achievement?" "It is remarkable. For the first time in centuries, our scientists are excited about discovery rather than worried about weapons applications. Your people's approach to science as partnership rather than domination has opened new ways of thinking." Keltos watched this exchange with growing understanding. Humans did not hoard their technology or use it to maintain superiority. Instead, they shared knowledge freely with species that showed they could use it responsibly. "Elder," Captain Chen said, "would you like to visit our research station in the Sol system? Our scientists would love to collaborate with yours on gravitational research." "That would be an honor, Captain. When would be convenient?" "Anytime you wish. I will arrange transportation that will be comfortable for your biology." After Elder Morpheus signed off, Keltos stared at Captain Chen in amazement. "You are inviting him to visit your home system? I thought humans preferred to keep Earth isolated." "We kept Earth isolated while we were learning about the galaxy and deciding how to reveal ourselves," Captain Chen explained. "Now that we are working together, secrecy serves no purpose. Besides, isolation breeds fear and misunderstanding. Openness creates friendship." Over the past year, a few select representatives from various species had visited the human home system, all returned with the same message. Humanity possessed technology that seemed like magic, but they lived simple lives focused on art, learning, and family relationships. "Captain, may I ask a personal question?" Keltos said. "Of course." "What was humanity like before you developed this advanced technology? Were you always so peaceful?" Captain Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of painful history. "Ambassador, humans have not always been peaceful. We fought terrible wars among ourselves for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed our own planet several times through violence and environmental damage. We know the cost of conflict because we have paid it ourselves." "What changed?" "We learned that our greatest enemy was not other humans, but our own fear and ignorance. Once we began working together instead of against each other, we discovered that the universe was far more amazing than any war could ever be. We learned to be curious rather than afraid, to explore rather than conquer." Keltos felt a strange sensation. Something he realized was hope. "Do you think other species can learn the same lessons?" "I know they can," Captain Chen said with absolute confidence. "We see it happening already. Species that were enemies last year are now trading partners. Military research budgets are being redirected to exploration and education. Children across the galaxy are growing up believing that cooperation is normal and war is an ancient mistake." A communication alert interrupted their conversation. This time it was General Korath of the Valdris Republic. The proud warrior looked older than when Keltos had last seen him, but also somehow more at peace. "Captain Chen," Korath said with formal respect, "I wish to report that the Valdris youth training programs have been successfully converted from military preparation to engineering education. Our young people are now learning to build rather than destroy." "General, that is one of the best things I have heard all year," Captain Chen replied warmly. "How are the young people responding to the change?" "Better than expected. It seems that our youth were always interested in creation and exploration. We simply never gave them alternatives to military service. Now they are designing new ships, developing better life support systems, and even writing poetry." "Poetry?" Keltos asked in surprise. "Warrior poetry," Korath explained with what might have been embarrassment. "Epic poems about the conquest of ignorance rather than the conquest of enemies. It is surprisingly moving." After Korath signed off, Captain Chen turned back to Keltos with sparkling eyes. "This is why we revealed ourselves, Ambassador. Not to show our strength, but to help others discover their own potential." "Captain, I have one final question. What does the future hold? Where do you see the galaxy in 50 years? Captain Chen looked out through the office window at the peaceful space traffic around the Nexus Gate. Ships from dozens of species moved together in harmony, carrying goods, passengers, and ideas between the stars. "In 50 years, Ambassador, I see a galaxy where children learn about war only in history classes, where species share knowledge freely because they trust each other, where exploration and discovery are more exciting than conquest and control, where every species contributes their unique gifts to make the galaxy better for everyone." She paused and smiled. "And most importantly, I see a galaxy where humanity is no longer needed as peacekeepers because everyone has learned to keep peace themselves." Keltos felt his heart beating faster with hope and excitement. For the first time in his long diplomatic career, he could imagine a future without constant conflict and fear. "Captain Chen," he said formally, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I want to thank humanity for showing us that another way is possible."